Lena, a passionate 28 years old, once dreamed of taking over her family's craft brewery in Napa Valley. Now, she stands in the tasting room, heartbroken. The rich scent of barley and hops can't mask the pain of her father and sister Clara calling her a failure for proposing a new beer line. Memories of her grandmother Rosa, who taught her to brew, cut like a knife. A dusty old letter from Rosa, hidden in a beer barrel, stuns Lena. She's the true heir to the brewery. A QR code in the letter links to a secret video from Rosa. Has her family woven a web of lies to steal her inheritance? What secrets await under Napa streetlights? The letter in Lena's hand was a spark in a powder keg, ready to ignite everything she thought she knew about her family. The old paper, tucked away in a dusty beer barrel like a forgotten relic, bore Rosa's distinctive handwriting, each stroke a testament to a buried truth. "My dearest Lena," it began, the words wrapping her heart like a warm embrace, "this brewery is yours to carry forward." Lena held her breath as she read on, the letter unveiling Rosa's dream, not just to preserve the family's craft beer legacy, but to innovate, to breathe new life into the Napa Valley Brewery with Lena at the helm. The QR code, carefully noted by Rosa, hinted at something more, a video, a final message. Lena's hands trembled as she scanned it with her phone, her mind reeling. How could her father and Clara hide this? How could they call her a failure when Rosa saw her as the future? The room seemed to pulse with memories, each one a bitter sip from a glass she wished she could forget. Lena closed her eyes, and Rosa appeared, silver hair glinting under the brewery's soft lights, guiding Lena's hands as she measured hops and barley. "Beer is a story," Rosa had said, her voice warm with wisdom. "You're not just brewing, you're crafting a legacy." Lena was 16 then, her heart swelling with pride as she soaked up every lesson. She'd spent countless nights sketching new beer recipes, a sour infused with local citrus, a stout kissed with Napa Valley oak. When she shared her ideas with her father and Clara, her excitement was crushed by their disdain. "Stick to tradition, Lena," her father snapped, his voice heavy with disappointment. Clara, always the golden child, smirked. "You're not cut out for this. You'll ruin us." Lena had swallowed the hurt, believing their words, but now, clutching Rosa's letter, she saw clearly, it was a lie crafted to erase her from the family's story. The pain of those rejections lingered like a bitter aftertaste. Lena stepped deeper into the brewery, her footsteps echoing in the vast space. She thought of the summer she'd poured into perfecting a saison recipe, inspired by Rosa's tales of experimental brews. Lena had stayed up late, tweaking ratios, dreaming of a beer that would put their small brewery on the map. When she finally shared it with her family, Clara laughed, calling it a waste of good ingredients. Her father didn't even taste it, dismissing it as foolish. Lena's confidence shattered, and she stopped bringing ideas to the table, believing she was the failure they claimed. Now, the letter in her hand told a different story. Rosa had believed in her, saw her not as a dreamer but as a visionary. Why had Lena let her family's cruelty define her for so long? Driven by a hunger to uncover more, Lena slipped into Rosa's old office, a space filled with oak bookshelves and faded photos. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and memories. She rummaged through drawers, her pulse quickening with each creak of wood, until she found it, a leather-bound notebook, its pages brimming with Rosa's meticulous notes. Recipes, yes, but more, sketches for new beers, ideas for sustainable sourcing, and a heartfelt note about Lena. "The girl has a spark," Rosa wrote. "Her ideas will take this brewery far. I trust her to soar." Lena's throat tightened, tears blurring the ink. Rosa hadn't just left her the brewery, she'd left a legacy of belief that Lena was enough. But the notebook held darker secrets. Tucked between its pages was an unsent letter from Rosa to Lena's father. "I see your greed, Robert," it read. "You and Clara talk only of profit, not passion. Don't betray Lena, or the brewery will lose its soul." Lena's heart sank. Greed? She thought of the brewery's recent struggles, cancelled orders, unpaid suppliers. Clara always blamed market trends, but now Lena wondered. Was there more? The answer came that night as she lingered at the brewery's loading dock, hidden in the shadows. Clara's voice cut through an open window, cold and calculating. The corporation's offering millions, she said over the phone. Once we push Lena out for good, we'll sell the recipes and the brand. Lena's blood ran cold. Sell Rose's recipes? The heart of the brewery, built over decades, traded like a commodity. The betrayal cut deeper than any insult. Lena sank to the ground, clutching the notebook to her chest. She thought of Rose's warm hands, her unshakable faith, and the recipes Lena had poured her heart into, only to be mocked. Clara wasn't just stealing the brewery, she was erasing Rose's legacy, Lena's dreams, everything that made this place more than a business. But the notebook, the letter, the QR code, they were weapons, proof of Rose's trust in Lena. She could fight back, but at what cost? Confronting Clara and her father meant tearing apart the fragile threads of family, risking the only home she'd ever known. But silence meant letting Rose's dream die. As Napa Valley's sky darkened, Lena made her choice. She tucked the notebook into her bag, her fingers brushing the letter's edge. Rose's words echoed in her mind, "This brewery is yours." Lena's heart was heavy but clear. She would find the video, uncover every secret, and fight for what was hers. The brewery, Rose's dream, and Lena's future depended on it. And maybe, so did her chance to reclaim who she was meant to be. The morning sun glinted over Napa Valley's sprawling vineyards, but it couldn't warm the chill in Lena's heart as she stood at the brewery's gate. The breeze carried the scent of earth and leaves, whispering Rose's encouragement. Lena clutched the USB drive containing Rose's secret video, found in a safe last night. The video, Rose's warm voice resonating through her phone, not only confirmed Lena as the rightful heir but warned of her father and Clara's greed. Knowing the truth was just the start. Today, Lena would face Clara, once her idol, now the architect of a web of lies stealing her legacy. Would she find the courage to break her family's wall of silence? Lena stepped into the brewery's production area, where Clara inspected fermentation tanks. The hum of machinery roared like a giant beast's heartbeat, but it couldn't drown Clara's icy tone as she spotted Lena. "Lena? What are you doing here? Go brew coffee somewhere, don't bother me." Clara's sneer cut like a blade, but Lena stood firm. She took a deep breath, her voice trembling but resolute. "Clara, I know the truth. Rosa wanted me to inherit the brewery. I've seen her video, and I know you're trying to sell her recipes." Clara froze, her eyes flashing panic before she laughed, the sound sharp as shattering glass. "A video? You're delusional, Lena. Rosa never trusted a failure like you. Go home before you make things worse." Clara's words were a cold gust, but Lena refused to let them snuff her fire. She pulled out her phone, playing the video, letting Rosa's voice rise above the machinery. "Lena is the future of this brewery," Rosa said, her eyes on the screen brimming with faith. "Don't let greed destroy our legacy." Clara paled but quickly regained composure, her voice cutting like a knife. "It's fake. You think some stupid video changes anything? Dad fixed the will. You have no claim here." Lena's heart clenched. Dad. The man she once adored, who taught her to ride a bike, was complicit in this betrayal. But she didn't let pain stop her. "You're wrong, Clara. I won't let you erase Rose's legacy." The confrontation ended with Clara storming off, leaving Lena among the tanks, her heart in turmoil. She knew Clara wouldn't back down, and her father, Robert, would side with her sister. Lena needed more evidence, something undeniable. She returned to Rose's office, where she found a hidden drawer behind a bookshelf, unlocked by a small key tucked in a family photo frame. Inside was a file, contracts between Clara and a major beer corporation, signed by Clara, agreeing to sell the brewery's exclusive recipes for millions. But what stunned Lena more was a recording device, with a note from Rosa, "For Lena, if you need strength." Lena pressed play, and Clara's voice, cold and smug, filled the air. "Lena will never know. Dad handled the will, and the recipes will go to the corporation." Lena's blood ran cold. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a calculated plan to erase her from the family. The truth was a bitter beer, hard to swallow but impossible to ignore. Lena sank into a chair, clutching the file. She thought of childhood days when Clara held her hand, racing through vineyards, laughing under the sun. Clara had been the sister she admired, her protector against school bullies. Now, Clara stood between her and Rosa's legacy. Confronting her sister and father meant destroying what little family remained, but silence meant letting Rosa's dream fade. Lena recalled Rosa's words in the video, "Lena, you are the future." Those words were a breeze through the valley, carrying strength she didn't know she had. Lena knew she couldn't do this alone. She thought of Jake, Rosa's old friend, now a lawyer in Napa. Jake had shared stories of Rosa's pride in Lena, and he could help bring this to light. But the thought of exposing her family's secrets made Lena shudder. Napa Valley was a tight-knit community, and a scandal like this would forever change how people saw her family. She imagined her father's face when the truth came out, and part of her wanted to flee, to return to an anonymous life. But then she looked at the file, her fingers tracing Clara's signature, and remembered Rosa's smile. She couldn't let her down. As the sun set, painting the valley in fiery orange, Lena stood, tucking the file and recorder into her bag. She would contact Jake, prepare for the upcoming craft beer festival, where she could reveal the truth to the community. The breeze carried the scent of grapes and hope. Lena knew the road ahead would be rough. Clara would fight back, her father would shield her, but she was no longer the scared girl. Rosa had believed in her, and now Lena would believe in herself. The brewery, the legacy, and her future awaited, and she would fight to reclaim them, no matter the cost. Under the twinkling lantern lights of the Napa Valley Craft Beer Festival, the air buzzed with laughter, the clink of glasses, and the rich aroma of barley. Hundreds of people, locals and tourists alike, gathered around booths, savoring unique brews. But Lena, standing behind a makeshift wooden podium, felt her heart pound like a war drum. Dressed in a simple sweater, hair tied high, her eyes blazed with resolve. Beside her, Jake, Rosa's old lawyer, nodded encouragement. In her hands were the USB with Rosa's video and the file proving Clara's scheme. This festival, where her family's brewery was once a source of pride, would now be the stage to unveil the truth. But as she scanned the crowd, spotting her father and Clara with their fake smiles, a chill gripped her. Could she do this? When the host introduced Lena, applause erupted, but she only heard her heartbeat. She stepped to the podium, her voice shaky at first but growing steady. "Thank you all for being here," she began, eyes sweeping the crowd. "Today, I'm not just here to talk about beer. I'm here to share the story of my grandmother, Rosa, and the legacy she left me." She plugged the USB into the projector, and Rosa's face appeared on the large screen, her gaze warm yet resolute. "Lena is the future of this brewery," Rosa's voice rang out, strong and clear. "I chose her to carry our legacy forward." The crowd fell silent, captivated by Rosa's words. Lena swallowed hard, pressing on. "But my father and Clara altered the will, trying to cut me out to sell the brewery and Rosa's recipes." The festival atmosphere froze. Lena pressed play, and the recording from Rosa's device echoed, Clara's voice cold, "Lena will never know. Dad handled the will, and the recipes will go to the corporation." Murmurs erupted in the crowd. Those who knew Rosa shook their heads, eyes flashing with outrage. Someone shouted, "How dare they do that to Rosa?" Lena glanced at Clara, seeing her sister's face pale, lips pressed tight. Her father, Robert, stepped forward, voice growling. "Lena, stop this now. You're destroying our family." But Lena didn't back down. She held up the file, her voice booming. "This is the contract Clara signed to sell Rosa's recipes. They didn't just betray me, they betrayed Rosa and everything this brewery stands for." The crowd exploded. Boos targeted Clara and Robert, mixed with cheers for Lena. "Justice for Rosa," someone yelled. "Lena, you did the right thing." But Clara wouldn't go quietly. She stormed the podium, snatching the mic from Lena. It's all lies, she screamed, her voice breaking. Lena's jealous because she's not talented enough. She's making this up to ruin us. Lena felt anger flare, but she stayed calm, her eyes locked on Clara's. You know the truth, Clara. And so does Napa Valley. The crowd roared, drowning Clara's words, and she stepped back, her gaze seething with resentment. Then, a deep voice rose from the back, silencing the festival. May I say something? An older man with salt and pepper hair stepped to the podium. Lena recognized him instantly, Henry, Rosa's old partner who helped build the brewery from its early days. I'm Henry Whitaker, he said, his voice carrying through the mic. I worked with Rosa for over 30 years, and I hold a copy of her original will. He held up a document, its legal seal glinting under the lights. This will confirms Lena as the rightful heir. Everything she's said is true. The crowd erupted, applause thundering. Lena felt tears stream down, not from sadness but from the validation she and Rosa deserved finally arriving. But the moment wasn't whole. Lena looked at her father, seeing him bow his head, shoulders trembling. Clara stood beside him, her eyes vacant, as if knowing she'd lost. Lena wanted to run to her father, to hear him say he was sorry, but he only turned away, pulling Clara from the festival. The crowd still cheered, but Lena felt an ache inside. She'd won, but at the cost of the family she once knew. Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, You made Rosa proud. Lena nodded, but her heart remained heavy. She thought of days when her father took her to see the vineyards, when Clara taught her to tie her shoes. Now, they were strangers. As the festival continued, Napa locals approached Lena, shaking her hand, sharing memories of Rosa, and pledging support. An older woman, once Rosa's co-worker, hugged her and said, Rosa always knew you were special. Lena smiled, feeling as if Rosa were there, beaming at her. She knew the fight wasn't over. Clara and her father might push back, and the legal battle ahead would be tough, but Lena was no longer afraid. Rosa had given her strength, and Napa's community gave her hope. She would fight, not just for the brewery, but for herself. As the lanterns dimmed, Lena stood quietly amid the festival, gazing at the star-filled sky. She felt the breath of Napa Valley, of Rosa, of herself. The truth was out, and though her family might be broken, Lena knew she'd found a new one, in those who believed in her, and in her own heart. 3 months after the craft beer festival, the Napa Valley Brewery hummed with new life. The vineyards outside shimmered under the autumn sun, and the machinery in the production area sang a song of hope. Lena, now the rightful heir thanks to Henry Whitaker's original will, stood among the fermentation tanks, holding a glass of her new beer, a citrus-infused sour, just as she'd once dreamed. Dressed in a flannel shirt, hair loosely tied, the faint smile on her lips testified to her resilience. The brewery was no longer a battleground of lies, it was becoming a beacon of innovation, as Rosa had envisioned. Yet, in Lena's heart, the sting of her family's betrayal lingered, like a bitter beer yet to fade. The days following the festival were grueling. Lena often stood silently in Rosa's office, staring at a family photo on the desk, her father's smile, Clara's mischievous eyes, and herself, a beaming child unaware of the lies awaiting. She wondered if there was a way to salvage her family without sacrificing the truth. Each night, she dreamed of her father calling her name, his voice heavy with regret, but waking brought only silence. Clara and her father, Robert, had left Napa Valley after the festival, without a word. Rumors swirled through town, they were in San Francisco, dodging the community's judging eyes. Lena tried not to dwell on them, but the pain followed her like a shadow through each day. Still, Lena refused to let sorrow hold her back. She poured her heart into the brewery, turning mocked ideas into reality. With Jake and loyal staff by her side, she launched a new beer line named Rosa's Legacy, a tribute to her grandmother. The sour beer, with its citrus notes and oaky finish, quickly won fans, drawing tourists and locals alike. Social media reviews praised Lena's boldness, calling her Napa's new breeze. But not everyone cheered. Some loyal to her father criticized her, branding her a tradition wrecker. Those comments stung, echoing the times her father and Clara called her a failure. Yet Lena learned to brush them aside, focusing on those who believed in her. The Napa community became her rock. Former colleagues of Rose's pitched in, bringing memories and encouragement. Maria, a retired brewer, dropped off empanadas and shared tales of Rose's experimental batches. "She'd be proud of you," Maria said, eyes twinkling. Lena smiled, feeling Rose's presence in every step. She started hosting community tasting events, inviting locals to share ideas for new brews. The brewery wasn't just a production site, it was Napa's heart, where people gathered, laughed, and co-wrote Rose's story. One afternoon, as Lena checked the tanks, a figure appeared at the door. She looked up, and her heart stopped. Clara, standing there in a thin coat, eyes hesitant. Lena froze, memories of the festival flooding back, Clara's voice screaming she'd lied. "What do you want?" Lena asked, her voice cold but trembling. Clara lowered her head, hair hiding her face. "Lena, I'm sorry." Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "I was wrong. I let greed blind me. I want to make it right." Lena stood stunned, barely believing her ears. Clara, who'd mocked her, now begged for forgiveness. Part of Lena wanted to send her away, but another part, the one that remembered Clara as the sister she loved, held her back. Clara pressed on, voice breaking. "I don't expect you to forgive me now. But I want to help. I can work here, under you, if you'll let me." Lena studied her, searching for sincerity in Clara's eyes. She saw pain, regret, and a trace of the sister she once knew. But she also recalled the lies, the years of being belittled. "You hurt me, Clara," Lena said, her voice steady but firm. "If you want to stay, you have to prove you've changed." Clara nodded, tears falling. "I will, Lena. I promise." Letting Clara stay wasn't easy. Lena knew many in the community would object, and she feared another betrayal. But she remembered Rose's words, "Beer is a story, and stories always have a chance to be rewritten." Lena gave Clara a small role, managing inventory, as a test. She watched her sister work diligently, without complaint, and for the first time, Lena felt a spark of hope. Perhaps, like her new beer, her bond with Clara could be rebrewed, one step at a time. Lena also wrote her father a letter, not to accuse but to offer hope. "Dad, I don't hate you," she wrote. "I just want you to see the value of truth. I'll always be waiting if you want to come back." She sent it, expecting no reply, but the act lightened her burden. She couldn't change her father, but she could change herself. As autumn passed, the brewery thrived. Lena stood in the yard, watching people line up to try Rose's legacy. She reflected on her journey, from a girl in her family's shadow to a woman who stood up for Rose's legacy. Clara, still atoning, was a sign things could change. Lena knew challenges lay ahead, market competition, painful memories, but she wasn't afraid. Rosa had given her strength, and Napa Valley had given her a new family. 5 months later, the streetlights outside the Napa Valley Craft Brewery glowed brightly, casting a timeless promise over the vineyards. Lena, now 29 years old, stood in the production area, holding a glass of her latest beer, a dark stout with hints of vanilla and oak, perfected with her brewing team after months of trials. The brewery was more than a production site, it had become the heart of the community, where stories were told through every pint, and Rose's legacy lived on. Lena, with her hair tied high and eyes brimming with confidence, was no longer the girl trembling under family pressure. She was a leader, an inspiration, and above all, a sister learning to forgive and love Clara again. The months since Clara's return were challenging yet hopeful. Lena closely watched her sister, searching for signs of sincerity. Clara worked diligently, from managing inventory to assisting at tasting events, slowly earning colleagues' trust. But Lena kept her distance, wary of past betrayals resurfacing. She remembered sleepless nights haunted by Clara's mocking laughter. Yet, each time she saw Clara meticulously logging orders or helping a new employee, Lena's heart softened. She began sharing new ideas with Clara, testing her, and was surprised when Clara listened and even offered improvements. Gradually, their conversations flowed naturally, like a beer brewed to perfection. One spring morning, as Lena inspected the new irrigation system for the brewery's herb garden, Clara called her to a quiet corner of the backyard. "Lena, I have something for you," Clara said, her voice hesitant but warm. She handed Lena a small wooden box, intricately carved with Lena and delicate patterns. Lena opened it, and her heart skipped a beat. Inside was a silver necklace with a tiny beer bottle pendant and a handwritten note from Clara, "Thank you for giving me a second chance. This is from my heart." Lena looked at Clara, seeing tears in her sister's eyes, and for the first time, felt uncalculated sincerity. "Clara, when did you make this?" Lena asked, her voice catching. Clara smiled, a bit shy. "Over the past few months, with Maria's help. I wanted you to know I'm serious." The gift marked a turning point. Lena wore the necklace, feeling an invisible thread between her and Clara reknotted. She invited Clara to co-create a new beer batch, and the sisters worked side by side, laughing like they did as kids. Lena realized forgiveness didn't erase the past but made room for new beginnings. She remained cautious, but each of Clara's smiles and shared ideas was a sweet sip of beer, easing the old bitterness. The brewery flourished, becoming a must-visit in Napa Valley. Lena expanded workshops where tourists learned brewing and heard Rosa's story. She partnered with local farmers for sustainable ingredients and launched a charity program, donating Rosa's legacy profits to local schools. Napa locals called her the keeper of the flame, and Lena smiled at the phrase, thinking the flame was Rosa's, kept alive by her. She hosted a one-year anniversary celebration of the festival, inviting the community for free beer and shared memories. That night, streetlights blazed, music filled the air, and Lena felt Rosa smiling among the crowd. Not everything was perfect. Lena hadn't heard from her father, though rumors placed him living quietly in San Francisco. She no longer expected an apology, but part of her hoped he'd visit the brewery and see what she'd built. She wrote him another brief letter, sent to his new address, "Dad, the brewery is our home. The door's always open if you want to come." She didn't know if he'd read it, but the act released her final sorrow, like filtering a beer to purity. One evening, as Lena and Clara cleaned up after a tasting event, Clara suddenly hugged her. "Lena, thank you," she whispered. "For not giving up on me, even when I didn't deserve it." Lena hugged back, tears falling. "You're my sister, Clara. We're family." Those simple words were the sweetest beer Lena ever tasted. She looked outside, where streetlights lit the path to the brewery. She thought of her journey, from a girl belittled by her family to a woman who found strength and truth in kinship. Clara, though still atoning, proved things could be rebrewed, like a new batch. As the moon rose, Lena stood by the vineyards, touching the necklace Clara gave her. She felt the breath of Napa Valley, of Rosa, of herself. The brewery wasn't just a legacy, it was her story, written in sweat, tears, and love. She knew challenges lay ahead, competition, old memories, but Lena was ready. Rosa taught her that beer is a story, and Lena would keep telling it, under the radiant streetlights, with Clara and all of Napa by her side. The core message of the story is that truth and courage can heal wounds and revive legacies, emphasizing the value of forgiveness and family. For the audience, this lesson reminds us that facing betrayal with sincerity opens doors to new beginnings. Dare to stand up for your dreams, forgive those who've hurt you, and rebuild from the ruins. Take action today, share your story, mend a relationship, and support us. Like, comment, subscribe, your support is the spark that fuels us to create more meaningful stories that touch your heart.